What up, rebels? Where's everybody at today? Oh, here we go. And a couple people in the room. Abby, Joseph, get in here. What's up, brother man?
What's going on, buddy?
Feel like the weeks keep getting longer, but the days keep getting shorter. I don't know how that works.
Yeah,
Just
I know that
not
feeling.
enough time.
And my kids are on summer break now, so it's even longer.
Ooh. Zach wants to know what tonight's subject matter is. Well, I just spent the better part of my day. Let's see if Abby can get in here. Going through an audit. Let me see if I can my headset right. Going through a collaboration with a third party consultant. God, the shit this guy pulled. We can talk about that, but we can also talk about whatever the hell comes up.
Dude, the third party consultant, I mean, some of them are pretty damn good. Some of them are just as bad as working with a TPA. I just did that one where the Chinese restaurant and, it was JS held and they refused to deviate from the default price list. So like all the cleans and everything, they wouldn't allow it to be HMR with the rest of the mold remediation. And it was just, and they're like, well, we don't have permission to approve that. And then the adjuster goes, well, they're the consultant. So if they don't approve it, then I can't approve it. I'm like, you're passing the buck back and forth and neither one of you want to make a call here. And you're screwing the client out of like $100,000. I was like, this is ridiculous.
Oh, so get this. So I sent over, we were instructed, State Farm instructed us to collaborate with these guys. Oh, we should start recording. We should probably start recording. Hold on. Let's do that. Hold on. Let me get my Rebel agreements up. Seriously, I am dragging ass today. There's no two ways about it. All right. Now we're going to talk the talk. Here we go. What's up, Rebels? Andy McCabe here. Joe's in the house. Abby's eating dinner. She'll be here with us shortly. Let's see if we can get Zach to get out of the peanut gallery and come in and join us. This is the Restoration Rebel Roundtable for the 31st of May, 2023. And as we do every week, we go through the agreements. I'm going to go quick today because I'm just not feeling it. Agreement number 1, I will protect the value of my services. Agreement number 2, I will practice incredible transparency. Agreement number 3, I do not believe in competition. Agreement number 4, I'm willing to walk away from any project, client, or contract that's not compatible with my values and stated mission. No relationship is worth losing money, sleep, or my humanity. Ooh, there it is. There it is. Okay, so this guy, State Farm, I don't get these files. Lately, I feel like I don't get any files until they're like 6 months old and just stale as hell. So this fire happens in June last year. I don't get a call until August, almost September. State Farm doesn't even send an adjuster, doesn't look at the loss, doesn't pay a dime on this loss. Apartment fire for 3-4 months. So I get involved. I write an estimate. State Farm brings in a local insurance whore to write their sheet for them. This guy's been in the industry a long time, but I think he gave up. I think he gave up a long time ago, i.e. he started to sell his soul and just do the lowest work possible. I'm going to go work for insurance companies. So he said, we agree that I will write the estimate, send it to him. He'll edit, whatever, blah, 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 blah. I said, fine, whatever. We each had some subs to go get numbers from. So the number I sent over to him, it was, how many units in this? 6 times 5, 30 units. 1 unit completely destroyed. 2 other ancillary units moderately destroyed. We decided to rebuild the entire stack below. The fire happened on the 5th floor. And went, and so we rebuilt all the stacks. The 008 stack is what we're saying: 508, 408, 308, 208, and then down below that was something else. So my number was 1.15 million with some caveats there. There's a big wag, is in we don't know if the city is going to make us sprinklers this entire building now that it has this damages. If we have to sprinkle this building, we have to bring in a new water main from the street, which that main line happens to run underneath a salon through 8 inches of concrete. It's a mess. So 1.1 million goes over to him. He comes back at 845,000, which was like, didn't, on the surface of it, wasn't too bad. And then I went in. So he put in his sub bids. One of these sub bids was 120 grand for wood floor. I was like, ooh, that's a good number. But he took out so much stuff. He sent over the sub bids with his $845,000 number. And I go through the sub bids naturally, right? If we're gonna agree on a scope, we got to agree on a scope. If we're going to say something is done by a sub, that sub better be saying they're going to do that. Well, lo and behold, many, many, many things that he took out of the Xactimate estimate, he marked them per sub bid, right? Instead of just deleting them, right? He just said per sub bid and took the number out. Many things I couldn't find on any sub number anywhere. And since it's been a couple months, I have some more information to go off of. I had his information to go off of. I had the subs. I revamped. I revisited this estimate, and now I'm sitting at 1.8 million. So at the end of the day, this guy is $1 million off what the true scope, what the true cost is going to be to build this thing back. And that is the game. State Farm offered 800,000. I said, to go away. Go away today, we'll give you 800 grand. Well, that would be giving State Farm a $1 million birthday present. So this is going to go legal. It already has, actually. They've already filed suit. So this is all happening under the protection of litigation and attorneys and shit. But I mean, how can you just be willingly $1 million off? So it's got a TPO roof, right? It's got some sort of PVC ply, whatever, TPO flat roof with scuppers and parapet wall and trim and everything else. Well, he takes all of my roofing items out and says, my roof will do it for $59,000. So I read the roofer's report. I should bring it up, but I'm not going to because I think it's too weird. And the roofer says, we're not flashing the parapet walls. We're reusing all the metal. And there's no mention of any scuppers. Well, the metal, the flashing, and the scuppers is like $35,000 that he just said per sub bid, they're going to take care of it. And the sub themselves said, we ain't taking care of it.
So they're just wanting to reuse the old shit?
Yeah. How can you can't. It's not reusable. That material is not made to take off and put back on and be in the same condition it was before you took it off. There's just no way.
I mean, and that's the thing that sucks is, I mean, the only way you really can, settle it is probably going to court because, the only other option is the original contractor to say, you know what, you want to do it for 800,000, go ahead and take a fucking loss. But
right.
I see that happen. The problem is especially is I feel like a lot of people, me and you, we're estimate ahead. Like I try to pride myself. I don't want to do supplements for more. Like I don't think a supplement should ever be more than say 20% of the original bid because a supplement is for stuff you could not have accounted for ahead of time. Like
right.
You should be throughout the process. Hey, updating the estimate. Here's something else we found. Type of thing. But I think a lot of people are just used to ballparking it on the front end, and then they wait till the job's all the way done and then supplementing it. And there's a good chance that at the end of the day, they tear that off. Oh, we do have to replace them. And they're going to end up being right around your number. But for whatever reason, the adjusters seem to think that, oh, well, I'm starting off at $800,000. I might end up at 1.8, but at least I start at $800,000.
At least I started low.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Because it looks like, I'm frozen. I can't click on anything. Oh
I blame
no.
Abby. She turned her camera on and then you froze. So
I'm gonna blame Abby for sure.
and then she turned it off.
Uh,
No, it didn't work.
yeah, I'm stalling out. I've got a deja vu happening here. Zoom is not making me happy today.
I mean, that's like, I mean, I had an estimate today I wrote, and the job site was an hour away. We were, I charged 1 hour of drive time to the job site each day. I charged 1 hour of monitoring because we have to monitor the main level, which is a small area, the basement ceiling. So we're gonna have to get up on a ladder. And then the other half of the basement's a crawl space. So we have to climb up a 4-foot wall and climb in the crawl space to monitor. I was like, an hour is fair. And I think altogether it came out to like 9 hours of monitoring over like total for like a 4-day dry out. Hang on, let me think here. Yeah, like 9 hours or something with equipment
It's
monitoring.
nothing. It's nothing.
And the adjuster literally, his response is, you need to lower your he's like, first off, he's like, you need to take your travel time off and your monitoring time is just way too excessive. And I'm like, ow,
Wow.
like, I mean, that's bare freaking bones to me.
Mm.
I mean, I sent him back. I was like, well, technically the job site's an hour and 15 minutes away. I was trying to be nice and give you an hour only on it. But I mean, some of these adjusters, they just act like,
There's just no number. Any number, the first number is always too high. It doesn't really matter what it is. The first one's always too high. And anything beyond something ridiculous is too much, is excessive, right? Heaven forbid you don't lose your ass driving an hour each way to monitor this job. Heaven forbid.
well, I mean, that's just like I made that post maybe last week, right after week or last Friday, I think it was. I put it up there where the adjuster was talking about, we only apply overhead and profit to the interior. We don't apply it to the roof. And I'm like, where do these rules come from that you guys think you are following? Because I've never seen anybody ever put these rules. Like, you don't just get a wax on this side and leave the other half of the car waxed off. Like, I mean, some of the stuff these adjusters try to pull, they pull it because they've gotten away with it and we've let them. I mean, it's a systematic problem that, I hate saying it like this here. We all have to take responsibility for it because we've allowed it to happen.
Yeah, we really have.
And I think now that, with the way the economy is, with the way, everything's just inflation going, like, I think people are trying to say, you know what, enough's enough. We gave you enough passes, and now it's time to get what we're actually owed on these jobs. And the adjusters are having a freaking heart attack.
Yeah, they are. All right. I've got a bad feeling I'm going to have to shut this down. That's not good. Damn it.
Turned my video off, but it didn't bring you back.
No,
Well, it just popped you up, Abby.
I'm staring at two white screens and a wheel of death. So,
well,
that's not a good sign.
I'm one of the panelists, so I should be able to keep it active if you want to restart real quick, and I'll just.
Oh, you are a panelist. That's right. So you're going to stay. All right, let's see how it goes.
Some elevator music on.
But you're not. Can you request to be a host? See if you can request to be a host.
I think if you disconnect, it'll make me a host since I'm a panelist instead of just attendance.
Okay. Yeah.
That's what happened.
Zach, if you're still listening, Zach, I couldn't accept you into the group because my whole shit froze. So, all right, I'll see you guys in a second. God damn it.
So what's new in the world of Abby?
I've been fighting the same stuff you guys were talking about. I just had an adjuster today tell me my equipment check monitoring hours were too much, and then that our PPE was excessive when we did crawl space work and full suits, respirators, the whole nine. And so
how do you charge your equipment monitoring?
Per hour, basically. I do an hour to get there and back, and then a half hour for any changes that need to be done on site per day. They go out there, and if it's farther away, then obviously I adjust that time.
The majority of the time, I will charge just for the drive there, because usually wherever my guys are at, they're going to go to the next job. So I'm going to charge the drive from job to job, and then the last job, I just like I don't get paid to drive to the office. At the end of the day, I just don't charge anyone for the drive back to the office. But relatively, Indianapolis is a small area, so not a big deal there. But I mean, I charge the actual. I look up on on Google Maps at 5 o'clock when I write my estimates, and for rush hour traffic time. And then I do usually about an hour of monitoring because between monitoring, writing it down, letting your machines acclimate. I mean, you should be spending about an hour there. And then I charge 15 minutes per piece of equipment, a single charge of 15 minutes for the entire project on my equipment because, to load it up on the van, unload it at the house, walk it in and plug it up, unplug it, move it around as need be, unwrap it, load it back in the truck, take it back to the shop and all. I mean, I think 15 minutes is fair. And I mean, I get a lot of carriers that they're fine with it. And then I get a lot of carriers that act like it's the most ridiculous amount of numbers they've ever seen in their life. And I'm like,
Yeah.
this is way excessive. And I'm like, what's excessive about it? It's just they never have a valid reason. It's just excessive.
I've like screenshot Google Maps too, or because we have tracking on our vehicles. So I'll show like the tracking map of the vehicle, and it doesn't matter. They don't care. Luckily with this job, the homeowner had already paid us in full for it. So basically the adjuster could just get bent.
And then on PPE, I charge one suit for every person for every 4 hours they're out there because they take a lunch break. Then I add whatever that number is, I'll add 20% on top of it for, incidental rips and tears and stuff. And I mean, for the most part, people don't complain too much, but occasionally you get that random insurance carrier that's like, oh, your respirators are part of, is a tool of the trade. Therefore, I'm not paying for it. Or we don't pay, it's cost of doing business. And I'm like, yeah, and it's a cost I'm passing on to you.
Right.
For me to do the business.
We're going to pay for it. Yeah.
It's crazy some of the shit that, it's crazy some of the crap that they literally will, like I said, I mean, most adjusters, you can always tell the good adjusters from the bad because the good adjusters are pretty laid back. They're like, yeah, that's not a big deal. Or they're willing to talk to you about it. But anytime the adjuster doesn't give me a valid reason, they're just like, it seems excessive. I'm just like, okay, I automatically know this ain't going to go any further. And it sucks. It really does. We just had one where the adjuster had a problem with the fact that, we had an air scrubber running for an air scrubber running for the entire dry out because we had it was in a crawl space and we had a dehue and an air scrubber, and the air scrubber was ducted out the access point to create a negative air. And he's like, oh, you don't need that air scrubber there for that long. You just need it there during the demo. And I'm like, you have no clue what the hell you're talking about, buddy.
No. I like when you can throw back the calculations in their face and then they just can't say a thing because.
Well, what's funny is I literally had in my estimate on the F9 note, I had the calculation written out. And this was a small-ass job. So instead of my normal 6 air changes, I did 4 air changes just to be nice. And he still was like, that's way too much air scrubbers. You don't need that many. Those air scrubbers. He said his exact words were, and you'll laugh at this here. What his exact words? He said, reduce your negative fan day. The fan recycles air at a high rate. 4 days is excessive, especially after demo is completed. And I'm like, none of that makes any sense of an argument. Like,
you don't have any justification for that statement. Thanks.
And then he's like, remove your Cat 3 line item. The only Cat 3 line item that you could even call was up to Cat 3 on baseboard. And it had carpet pad, VCT, 2 layers of VCTs, 2 layers of underlayment, and it leaked down. Like, of course I'm going to bag it up. Baseboard and trim is bagged up to, but all they see is the word Cat 3, and they're like, nope, not taking it.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't know anybody that will just carry the sticks out. Like, everyone bags it up.
Yeah. Yeah, we get into that too with them, and they forget that it says up to. I had an adjuster fight me one time saying that HEPA filters were included in the vacuuming. I mean, she went to the point of like going to where you can see the breakdown of the line item charge. And I'm like, it's talking about the type of equipment used, but there's nothing in here that states the filter is included in this price. I mean, it was just ridiculous.
Oh yeah. I mean,
in the descriptions against them in Xactimate, because they're all about, oh, well, Xactimate says this. And so I always throw it back in their face when I can.
I absolutely love it when my favorite is when you even like I'll email pricing at Xactimate and I'll get their answer and I'll give them that answer and they still say I don't care. I'm like, it's not your money. It's like I hate the adjusters that pretend like it's their piggy bank. And
Yeah.
they pretend like that, it's their money that you're asking for it and they don't want to give you a dime. And I'm like, if I was a adjuster, like, why? I don't care. Like, if it's a fair estimate, it's a fair estimate. It's not like I need a penny pinch it. But I mean, I've heard some adjusters there. I know one person who I won't mention the carrier, but I know one carrier specifically that their bonus is based on averaging out a minimum of a 10% reduction from initial submission by a contractor. And I'm like,
Yep, 10%.
That's
all day long.
Like you
all
should
day
not,
long.
that should be, I mean, that's literally, I mean, there's no, I mean, that's a joke of a stipulation. Just as long as you can guarantee that you can get everybody to reduce for 10%, you get a bonus. Like if they need that money, like if that's how much it costs.
It's stupid shit like that. Can you hear me? Am I here?
Yep.
I am here. You can't see me because my camera's effed. It's stupid shit like that creates this environment where folks are like, well, I'm going to add 20%. I'm going to fluff it by 20%. I'm going to build in 20% bullshit because I know they're just automatically they're going to want their 10%. And it's just a circle of just, it's just lies. It's just lies.
Mm-hmm. And then what that sucks the most is most homeowners are so not used to dealing with this, unlike us, that they don't know us from Tom, Dick, and Harry, but they know their insurance company because they've had them for 30 years. So the insurance carrier must be right, and it is so easy for an adjuster to get the client on their side, even when he's completely bold-faced wrong and screwing them over, and they will take it all day long.
All day long.
I feel like they think it's the government or something. I mean,
Well,
that's
there's so much fear. There's so much fear.
Yeah.
I've got a guy, you guys have been blowing me up all day. You can't see me. I'm motioning at the camera. The camera's not off. What am I doing? And he had ice damage.
Because your camera's not turned on the side. It shows that it's turned off.
Yeah, I've got a USB driver problem. That's what I've got.
Unplug it, blow on it, turn it back in like an old Nintendo.
Blow on it like a Nintendo and an NES.
That'll work every time.
Every
60% of the time it works every
time.
So this guy he ice damaged his roof. He had leaks inside. It was happening in December, and it was Safeco, and Safeco's just been dicking him around. And he came out of pocket and paid $60,000 to replace his roof. But he's still asking me things like, well, is this going to affect my claim? I told him to file a complaint with the state of Oregon today. He said, well, is that going to negatively affect my claim?
Yeah, but do they, Andy? Do they ever do that?
No.
I don't know any
Exactly. That's the problem. Is we try to leverage the homeowners so much that we inform them, go and do this, go and complain to these people, go and file this. They never do.
And I think that's
which leaves us sitting here with our dick in our hand.
And I think that's because they think that a lot of people market, we will bill the insurance, we'll work with your adjuster. So they think that they're just out of the mix. Like, I don't have any responsibility. You're going to get whatever the adjuster agrees, you'll figure it out. And it's why,
it's your home.
Yeah.
It's your asset.
Yeah. I mean, how many times I've just been like, I've got several open claims right now where the homeowner is just being screwed, but they're still like, well, I don't know. It might be too aggressive. I'm like, how is this for aggressive? You're getting screwed to the tune of $100,000. That feels aggressive to me. Yeah.
Well, we got, Andy, since you can't video chat here, I'll say we've got some other people in here, Zach and Chris and Lou.
Hey, Chris is your Ira store, right? iTrax. How is iTrax? What's going on? What's the latest with that?
Not much. Just the same old new updates all the time.
Is it what is iTrax a CRM or is it just moisture or what give us a review?
It's in between moisture and contents and a CRM. So it's not a CRM, it's more project management.
Okay, but it does have moisture content tracking, hygrometrics.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
How do the reports, who's using iTracks right now?
Some smaller companies, mostly Western Canada, some in Western United States.
Okay. So I'm launching a new business here shortly to replace Claims Delegates, and we are going down the software API rabbit hole right now, trying to figure out, we're got to build a platform of some kind, but we're trying very hard not to reinvent the wheel because there is so much software out there. It's ridiculous.
Oh yeah. There was maybe 2, 3 when I started iTracks, and now there's more than a dozen.
Oh, so many.
Yeah.
And Zach, what about you?
I'm telling you guys, the key to gold, and Andy, I've talked to you about this, smaller carriers.
Yes.
Smaller carriers, brother. I did 65,000 last year writing for a smaller carrier. I'm on pace to do about 200 this year writing for a smaller carrier. ACB policies, they asked me to write very fair. The contractors love me because I know their side of the game. We give them everything. All the stuff that you guys are bitching about, never a problem. They get paid in full. They get paid within about 20 days. I really do see, especially like maybe, I don't know, Andy, you're out west, but Joseph's close enough to me that here in the Midwest, these bigger carriers are really starting to feel some hurt.
Yeah.
I know. I've always told everybody I know personally, I'm like, look, if you see them on TV, if you know their jingle by heart, that's the wrong insurance to have on your house because they got enough money to tell you to kick rocks.
Yep.
I mean, that's just how I've always looked at it.
Well, I don't feel sorry for them.
I do feel sorry.
I don't either
like,
when we advise them what to do and they don't freaking do it.
I mean,
That's
did you
what
guys see
drives
that?
me nuts. Like, man, that's what honestly has run me out of trying to write for contractors who try to go to battle with State Farm. It's like, 1, your documentation is shit. 2, you don't listen to me. And 3, you want me to go to bat with 0 bullets. Okay, yeah, that's just fun. That's just a great time.
You guys see that article I posted about State Farm is no longer taking new clients in California because it's too expensive?
Yes, I saw that today, Joseph. State Farm is out of Cali.
Wow. Yeah,
I mean,
that's so scary.
as Bebo said, I feel bad for the homeowners who are left with one less option to cover their homes, but I don't feel bad for everyone having not to have to deal with State Farm no more.
You're going to see more states go that way, though.
Well,
I mean, especially the ones who've had severe damage over the last 3 years. I mean, those folks have taken such a hit on their premiums. both commercial and residential, you're gonna see bigger carriers start to really fold in. And that's where I'm telling you, these smaller carriers, there's a few of them that are right for here in Ohio that they're awesome. They have great money. They have great clients. They don't complain, even though they're ACV policies, they don't care. They understand they're not getting reimbursed 100% in full, but guess what? You can write fairly to make it work for them. Contractors, you get an agreed price, they put them back together. It's a beautiful thing.
So do you think that's the way of the future?
I don't know that it's
because
the way of the future. Everybody keeps saying AI is going to take all of our jobs, but I'm still saying when's a robot going to show up and look at a house? I mean, right now I got to
Never,
drive said
never.
robot to the house to look at the house, and I'm the one that has to navigate said robot. So until the robot can do it all on its own, I don't think I'm losing my job.
No. God. But the alternative is every state turns into Florida, and that is a disaster.
Shit show. That's a shit show.
I
More
mean,
than one way.
everyone's leaving Florida. I mean, if you move to Florida right now, you're shit out of luck because you ain't gonna find insurance other than. But I mean, even the ones that are staying there, they are now going to exclude a named storm as part of the coverage. Like if it's a hurricane, if they put a name on it, you're shit out of luck. Like that's ridiculous. And I mean, it all boils down to the fact that we got to remember insurance is a business. They're in the money they make money by holding our premiums and investing it, and they're paying out more than they're profiting, and their stockholders are shitty about it. I mean,
Well,
Yes, they are.
and okay, so I'll give you guys a little bit of an insight. I sat in on a very large high level meeting about a month ago, and you know which client I'm talking about.
Mhm.
And I listened to them list off what the average price per commercial square foot for insurance is.
Mm.
Do any of you in the room know what the average square foot price per commercial place is right now to insure?
No idea. I'm scared.
It's $160 a square foot
For insurance.
for insurance.
What?
This client felt like they were getting fucked because they got raised up 45% in their rates. They're only paying $105 a square foot. I tried to calm them down because I was like, listen, you might need to go find $5 million to fulfill your policy agreement, but that's the way of the times right now.
I tell everybody it's $250. It's $250 a square foot to rebuild anything. Like if you're not averaging about $250 a square foot, you're losing money.
Yeah, but insurance premiums north of 150?
A square foot.
That's just
I'm telling you, there's
a hard
time
expense to
a-changing.
cover.
There's a time of changing right now. You're
Well,
going to see commercial folks go either start selling their shit left and right,
or
go under.
Well, that's like State Farm.
or both.
How many years ago
Or
did they
both.
start doing it? Where they based it was what 1 or 3% of the home value is your deductible. Like they specifically did that for one good reason, and we lost 80, by the way, guys. He'll be back. They did that for one good reason, because it prices the most of your homeowners out of being able to file a damn claim. I don't know how many times I went to a job and they had a $5,000 policy. And I'm like, you're gonna have to pay that, and then they, and oddly enough, they always hold deductibles out on the recon, but when they have a $5,000 deductible, it's held out on the mitigation. So then you've already done the work and you got to go collect it. I mean, it's just a way to pass the buck around and try to get someone else stuck on the bill. And that's what we're going to, though, is everybody's going to have these massively high deductibles. And what sucks even more is even with those high deductibles, like the coverage is still shit because everybody wants to save 10% by using 15 minutes or whatever the lizard says and shit, like the days of having, like, I remember when I was growing up, every 2 years or 3 years, our agent would come to our house and they would walk the property and they would evaluate everything again. They'd look at how much content we've gotten and make sure that we have enough coverage. Nowadays, I don't know a single agent that actually leaves their facility and goes out in the field anymore. Like they just sit behind a desk and answer a phone call.
Correct.
And people are way underinsured, especially on contents. I tell people all the time, like, if you think you have enough contents coverage, add 100,000 and you'll be okay then. But it is. I can go online and get a quote, and 10 minutes. Yeah, sounds good. Nope, with no idea of how much shit actually costs. I mean, it's just.
But that's the issue too, Joe, is like the insurance industry is doing everybody a disservice by making it so fast and easy that we should have saw this coming about 5 years ago, really, because that's when everybody went to that, go get Geico started it first, and then Allstate followed suit, and everybody else has followed, in order. That nobody's educating people on what a true value of anything is anymore. There's no true valuations. They're not paying attention to the market. In 2020, when lumber prices went through the roof, and they're not necessarily stable now, but they're better than 2020.
Oh yeah.
If you would have had a house fire in 2020 and been underinsured by say $50K normally, that's probably $250,000.
Oh yeah.
Easy. You're
yeah,
screwed. You're never rebuilding that home. Never.
Oh yeah. And I mean, that's the thing is, I mean, literally, like the amount of times, like I remember growing up and when I first started in the industry, most policies, the coverage was enough coverage to fix whatever would happen at the house. Nowadays, you have to have that replacement overage coverage of 150%. I got a house right now I'm working on. It's like the estimate's at 260, and he's got 150 overage, so he can get up to like 480 or 4 something or other. And I mean, it's going to take every bit of that money, and then probably still exceed the policy limits. And it's just people just, oh, well, that's way too much. I don't have enough money to pay the premium. I got to go with something cheaper, and they just get the cheapest thing they can get, and they're rolling the dice with the most important thing in their house, their family, and their home. I mean, it's just it's sad.
It really is. I mean, the industry as a whole is in a sad state of affairs right now. And we got hurricane season upon us, so that'll be fun.
Oh yeah, I'm not looking forward to this. The amount of hurricane, like up until this past year, I always was used to time and material accepted everywhere universally for hurricane work.
Nope.
Last year, every freaking person was like, transmute this into Xactimate and make it still work. And I'm like, oh my God, I hate you guys so much. Like I mean, if anyone watches this here, if you've never done hurricane work, it's not the time to start, because you can lose your ass faster than going to the casino doing hurricane work. Like it is, I mean, literally, like it is, if you're 5 minutes over your 24-hour time to monitor your equipment, you're screwed. Like you're only getting 3 days, no matter how many days it takes to dry it out. Like the rules are stupid when hurricanes hit. And
yep.
And the hurricanes are just getting worse. I mean, I remember it used to be one hurricane every couple of years, and now it's one every single year that hits pretty damn hard. I mean, I don't know how
between that, I mean, Joe, you've seen the Midwest. I mean, we've had, shit. I mean, Indianapolis isn't that far from me. We had 4 straight weeks of 70, 80 mile an hour winds every weekend from the end of February to the early April.
Oh yeah.
I mean, some of these houses I was scoping, it's like, yeah, I'm only going to have to take about 10 pictures because literally one side of the house is ripped off. Like, yeah, you're replacing all of the siding on this whole damn house.
Oh yeah. And
not even negotiable.
I remember when we started, it used to be easy. Oh, 2 or 3 sides are done. We'll go ahead and do the other side and make it all kind of. Nowadays, I mean, Jesus Christ, it's like, oh, you don't even have to replace all this side. You just replace the bottom half of it and you're good to go. And it's like, I'm just like, okay, y'all have no clue what you're doing, but all right.
Well, and see, that's where I love where I've converted to, as opposed to, I mean, I still write for contractors, but writing for some of these smaller carriers has been it's been very good mentally to see people do the right thing, resite a whole house or redo a whole roof, mainly because, they can see the damage. Yeah, that they've got 4 or 5 squares of their roof are completely gone. You're gonna replace the roof then. We're not talking repairs. We're not talking bullshit. And I mean that they've been very fair. And I mean, it's been a breath of fresh air for me.
Well, I think a lot of people also, they don't understand the policy language and how it works better. Like, if you have an ACV policy, as long as you're replacing 70%, if it's 70 up to 70% of the roof can be repaired and you can get all the money. But as soon as you go over 70 to 80%, 90%, 100%, then it gets ACV to the actual cost of the entire roof, and you're going to lose like 60% of the project. So a lot of times,
You might, but it depends on the guy writing it. And that's where I say too, with me writing them, I know what these guys need. I build in for all kinds of stuff. I mean, I write for, the steep roof, the high roof stuff that I hear people on Xactimate Ninjas bitch about all the time. And it's like, nope, like you should come to Central Ohio and find some of these claims that I'm writing, because you'll actually get paid what you're worth.
that's what I tell everybody. I'm a big proponent. Xactimate, while it's not perfect, if you actually know how to use the program, and if you actually account for every line item that you need, and not even bullshit fluff, if you legitimately account for every line item that you're supposed to account for, you are within 5 to 10% of what the true cost of the job is overall going to be. I see people all the time, they're like, oh, I can't, drywall is so crap. And I'm like, no, like if you're not right, I can tell you right now, it's because you don't write it in the correct way. And
yep.
If you're not, it's about scope. It's less about price and more about scope. Yeah,
sorry,
baby.
Eddie, no. I'm laughing at your background.
I like
the pizza and the donuts. Hey, I had to break down. I'm on my tablet now because my $2,000 computer over here just shit in the bed. So.
Good
But
Lord,
yeah,
Andy.
I tell everybody, like, a lot of these roofing guys that we work, I see in these groups, not just roofing, but others, like, they're like, oh, we got to get the whole roof replaced. And I'm like, why? Like, if you write 70% of it, guess what? You probably can get enough money to, it might be a tight person, but you might get
okay. I don't know. I'll arm wrestle you over that one. Why would you ever not put in for a full roof?
If it's an
I can tell you why. I can answer that right now.
All right.
I went and scoped one a week ago. Contractor had an argument with me, and I'm writing for the insurance, and I was the one that scoped it. She had 5 foot of ridge that was blown off, and it was a ridge vent. Roof was only 6 years old, and guess what I found out via a nice little ITEL report? Well, those shingles are still being made. You can go get this ridge, sir. We're gonna replace the ridge and the ridge only. And then he got
no other damage.
Because
no other damage.
No other damage. And I mean, I looked that thing up and down, took 150 photos via company cam, and I told the guys, like, I'm trying, like, I am looking, because I don't want to leave this person with some leaks or something that's going to happen a few months from now. This is my ass on the line as much as it is yours. And he ended up agreeing. He's like, nope, you're right. It's just this one piece of ridge. It came loose and it blew off. Okay.
So that's the one component that you could arguably replace without getting into the rest.
Like I said,
1 to 3% of them are going to be like that. Majority of the rest of them, you're going to have serious shit if you had a serious event.
But 70% of an ACV policy is going to be more than 100% of the roof depreciated down with no recoverability. You're usually on average going to get more money on an ACV only policy if you can keep it at that 70% line item.
Yep.
Why is that again?
Because if I have an ACV only policy, as soon as I go over 70%, depreciation kicks in, and that depreciation can drop it down 50% sometimes.
70% of the roof.
70%. You can quote unquote repair up to 70% of a roof before it's deemed full replacement.
So repairs are paid for RCV. Replacement is ACV.
Yes.
Correct. Now, what Joe and I understand, and you may not, Andy, being out west, is here in Ohio and Indiana, there's a lot of people that have, maybe dimensional shingles on one elevation, 3 tab on another elevation. Hell, some of them might have screwed before. Some of them might have slate on another one, or a metal roof going off of it, an addition. When those types of things happen, what Joe's talking about is how you can get to where you need to be to make everybody whole. And that's how their house was hodgepodge before anyway. It is what it is.
I have never seen a roof, literally never seen a roof besides like TPO flat roofs off of something else that was a different material ever.
Oh,
in my career.
Come to the Midwest. Come to the Midwest.
Until 3 months ago, my house had tar and gravel on one side and 3 tab on the other.
Get out. Okay.
Because it was bought that way. And I only fixed it after 10 years this year.
Wow. You're blowing my mind right now. I'm like floating with the donuts and stuff.
But and it's also like, I mean, I tell everybody all the time that, everyone wants to fight. Oh, they just want us to do a small repair on the roof. Okay, well, do it. Insurance's favorite thing in the world that they don't tell anyone about is they love double or having to pay for things twice if they screw up. I will happily, in a heartbeat. It's like a great one is texture. You want me to blend the texture and then paint something? I'll charge for that. And then before I paint it, the homeowner looks at me and goes, "It looks like shit." They bitch at the adjuster. Now the adjuster says, "Okay, you're right. They tried. I see that they did a good job, but it's not quite there." They'll pay to scrape the whole ceiling down. Like I'll second charge. Let's go back out there.
God, that feels like such a goddamn waste of everyone's time.
I mean, I'm getting paid twice. Why do I care?
Well, this is where
care.
I save my clients money, and I just scrape the whole ceiling to begin with.
Well, that's where I'm at, Zach. Is I will not match texture. I will not tell anyone that anyone in my company can match texture because you can't.
No, and I've gotten called into board meetings with this client, and I've educated their board and their vice president and their president on how things go. And you'd be astonished at insurance people, right? Like, these are the idiots who sell these policies. And hopefully none of them ever watch any of these videos because I just called them idiots. But they literally don't understand. And once you tell them, like, "Hey, would you want me to come in and unmatch half your ceiling?" And they go, "Well, no, I want it all to look like before." Ding, ding, ding. I'm going to scrape the whole ceiling one time. Then I'm going to retexture. I'm going to pay for the texture or machine. Float. I'm going to pay for all of the line items that we need. And it's done in whole.
Well, I mean, another great example is like a kitchen faucet. If I detach a sink, especially from a granite, I'm always going to replace the faucet. Those things never go back the right way. They always leak when you hook them back up. And if you talk to a desk adjuster, they're going to be like, "Oh, we don't owe for that. There's nothing wrong with it." But if you can get a
faucet or angle stops,
the faucet itself.
Okay. You also do angle stops?
I have to. You have to do angle stops because you got to slide the box in, and you only need a small hole. You don't need a big ass hole with the cabinet in place. But
plus, what are you doing when you take off an angle stop when you're demoing a bathroom? I mean, come on. That's if in insurance, and that's where I really draw my line. Like, as soon as an adjuster wants to argue with me, "Well, we don't owe for angle stops," like, these guys have been paying you $500 a month for how long, and you can't buy them a $14 part from Lowe's.
And that's if you get all of the big bosses, if you explain to the big bosses, would you rather me replace this $100 faucet and guarantee there's no leaks, or roll the dice and it leaks in 6 months and they call us back out there and you got more money? I mean, the big bosses are always like, "Yeah, like, yeah, go ahead and do it." But it's these desk adjusters. And like I told Andy the other week, right now at Allstate, 60 to 70% of all the moderate adjusters, that's like up to $50,000, have less than 2 years experience adjusting.
You're going to see more of it, though, Joe. You're going to see more of it. So many of these guys are retiring. I mean, one of my biggest clients, I mean, his adjuster is a senior adjuster with Sedgwick. We got him replaced. I essentially run their whole program where I write it, they approve it, anything under $250K. And he's got 450 properties across 17 states. And it's worked beautifully. We have gotten almost $10 million approved through the end of May before their renewal period. So they're sitting pretty. They've gotten it all well done. They're feeling good outside of, having an insurance premium hike. But when they show them the numbers of what other people are paying, it's like, well, shit.
Do they have a $5 million premium?
No, they've got $100,000 premium.
Okay.
Or you mean, well, not premium, but $100,000 deductible. Their premium is over $1 billion.
Wait,
as far as insured and whole, they got $1 billion.
B as in big letter
billion.
B. Wow.
Billion. They got $1 billion in assets.
Wow.
But their biggest side that I don't even have to worry about.
No. The premium on that.
That's
Oh,
what I'm
the
asking.
premium that they're paying now, it
I
went
was gonna
from
say.
it went from 6 mil to 11 mil.
Okay.
A
So
year.
you almost got their premium paid for.
Almost.
But it's just, when do they renew?
They just renewed.
Okay.
They
I mean,
just
that's
renewed.
the
The renewal
goal,
date
right?
kicks in tomorrow morning.
That should be the goal of every risk department, is to at least fully compensate for the premium that you're paying.
Bro, I've been wanting to talk to you because I'm telling you, there's something afoot with what we've done with this client where we could spin this, because they know a lot of other people who are in the same damn boat, not getting things approved because they just have like
This was a carrier that was looking for more. He was looking. They're looking to sell more policies.
Yeah. And I had a gal, one of their regionals went rogue and got like 3 contractor, estimates. One of these guys sent me an $850,000 estimate to re-side, re-roof, re-gutter, this whole day. It was like, this only had 2 buildings hit, because I got boots on the ground. And like, this building only had 2 buildings hit, and like one of them needed re-sided. Where in the hell did you come up with almost $1 million in writing this? And the guy had no words for me. He's like, we just plan to do the whole complex to get it all to match. I'm like, no, this is just built 3 years ago. It's all still available. Like, what are we doing? There's so many opportunities, though, to expose dumbasses who don't know what they're doing.
My favorite this week was, I had a client that they had internally wrote an estimate for this house and all, and it was like $160,000. And then like we met up and everything. This estimate was written probably 2-3 months ago. They got the demo done. They haven't started the reconstruction. They're like, before we do the recon, scrub through the estimate, Joe, and see if we missed anything. Right? They missed like $70,000 worth of shit. Like a lot. And what they're dealing with now is this adjuster's pissed because he's like, you told me you could do it for 160. Now you're asking me for $70,000 more. Why would you accept a job if you were that far off? Like, that's not even a valid estimate. And I think that's what we're going to start seeing a lot more of. Is
did I just
without a doubt?
It was a supplement for 100% of the original.
70%. I increased it by $70,000. They missed $70,000 worth of shit because the estimator here.
That's a lot of shit, though, Joe. You're missing a lot to miss 70 grand.
He was only like,
that's not a oops, I forgot a closet.
Well, this guy was like,
that's an oops, I forgot a floor.
Well, he had only been estimating.
How many floors are in this building again? Oh,
he'd only been estimating 2 months. They gave him this big ass project, and I'm like, broski, you missed a lot. And
dude, the last guy, I got a State Farm claim out in the boonies. And it's 450 all day long. And the State Farm guy shows up and I say, hey, how long have you been doing this? I've been doing this for 2 years. 2 years, and they put him on a $450,000 loss.
And I bet you he's never even put a shingle or a roof or a gutter. He's never done anything with his hands. Never done a damn thing.
No, he's a car salesman.
Of course.
Did he actually for State Farm, or was he a third party hired to go look at it for him? Because I'm seeing a lot of that too. They don't actually work.
It was Wardlaw, but he had a State Farm email.
So Wardlaw's stupid to hiring State Farm agents. That should tell you this: the state of State Farm.
No, so this guy, he was Wardlaw, but Wardlaw's got to be doing a lot of State Farm work because they've got, they're badged up. They're State Farm badge. They're State Farm email. They're small print in the email signature, by Wardlaw.
It's just a way to work around not having to have everybody licensed and be doing appraisals. We're going to send out this IA guy to do it and all, and then we just will. And that's what sucks is these IA guys. They are always right. Like if they write $100, it's $100. There's no adjuster is going to believe me that it's actually $120. Like it's $100.
Yeah, well, I put in tile in college, don't you know?
But I mean,
I was a contractor once.
And what sucks is, for us, I know we're talking a bunch about recon. Recon, it is what it is. It's not, if you estimate correctly, what needs done, it's not a big deal. Where everyone's getting beat up at the most, more than anything anymore, and I'm sure, Abby, you can attest this, is on the mitigation. It's on the structure cleans. It's on the pack outs. Like, Zach, we're in the Midwest. Do you pack back in houses, or do you guys build a pack back in the house and empty every box and unload it all? Because I never see that in the Midwest, unless it's an old person or somebody that's handicapped.
So the way that these smaller carriers that have been writing for, the way that they do it is very simple, really. They know some contents contractors who are all in the, greater Ohio Valley. They quote them, they sign off and get them the check. Whether or not it's a pack out, pack in, how that works, I'm not 100% sure on that end of it. They don't even have me write contents. They just don't even mess with it. They just pay the bill, which is again where I say it's somewhat.
So they
fair.
rubber stamp it. They're rubber stamping.
Right, they're rubber stamping it because they're putting it on the homeowner that, hey, you vetted this person of what you need them to do. Don't bit, and their adjusters are very much like, don't bitch to me if they didn't unpack all your stuff or they didn't pack all your stuff. Like, I told you to get a quote and I'd pay it. So Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner has got to do the homework. But that's also where, when I've done site visits, because some of these, and this is going back to something that Joe said earlier, and it gets into the mitt game too. So like some of these houses that I wrote, like, wind damage stuff for, they got a contractor out there. Contractors were slammed. Maybe it took them 2-3 weeks to get to it. They then get to it, and then now there's a leak, right? Now they've got water coming into the house. So they come back to me and say, hey, Zach, we're going to need a supplement for the interior. So I go out, do an interior scope. I'm writing it all Cat 3, boys and girls. Like, it's all Cat 3. Like, I'm not fucking around, because we all know what that is up in that attic. It's been 70, 80 degrees for the last 3 weeks. If I'm seeing now water damage, yeah, that's all Cat 3 up there. It's going to be gross, and it's all getting written for. And I talked to the contractor, how many techs, how much equipment. And this is where it gets to again. These contractors don't fucking know. And it pisses me off, because I'm sitting there asking them direct questions to get them paid. How much PPE do you need? How much of this do you need? Do you need to decon your equipment? How far do you have to travel? I got to put it together. Well, can you put it together? Do you want to make money? I'm trying to get you paid here. Which one do you want?
Abby is one of the mitigation people in the group here. So, I mean, do you guys empty the boxes, or do you just set the box? Like, and when I was in California, every pack out job was a pack back in, put everything back on the carryout cabinets where they went. Indiana, you bring the boxes in, you might build the big furniture, set up the bed, the desk, but you leave the boxes and you leave it for the homeowner to unpack, unless they're elderly, handicapped, something like that there. Like, the adjusters do not want to pay pack back ins.
We don't.
What do you mean?
Oh,
sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. We don't do any pack outs or pack back ins. So if it's a whole house that needs to be packed out, I leave that to the homeowner to find that company. A lot of times they'll call the insurance company. They'll come in, pack everything out, and then we come back in to do the mitigation. We do some content manipulation, or we'll box some stuff up on site. It's left on site in the customer's home, and they're responsible for putting it back.
No, Andy,
It's just too messy. I don't want to deal with it. I'm not.
I don't blame
too
you.
much
Abby. I mean,
liability.
content's a bitch.
There's
Content's
more,
sucks.
there is more, but I always argue, like, California, Texas, Florida, they're all out, pack it back in, not a big deal. You go to New York, it's the same way. But in the Midwest, the homeowner has a due diligence to mitigate their claim. This is how they can help, they can help their claim by unpacking their boxes. And that is, in my opinion, the worst thing any contractor can do, because, hey, we took it off, it wasn't broke. We put it in the box, it wasn't broke. We dropped it off to you, and we didn't open the box up and verify it wasn't broke. And then 6 months later, the homeowner gets around to opening it up and it's broke. You're held on.
Broke.
Yeah, like, that's why I always try to pack it back in.
See you, Chris.
Yeah, we don't do any pack outs or pack back ins. Like I said, minimal content manipulation. And we always tell the homeowner, if there's things or items they don't want to accidentally have broken, or personal items that they want, they need to take those. We will not touch them.
That's a lot of risk. And if you're not insured for that, or you're not ready to document it to the nines, I'd stay out of it too.
I'll tell you one thing that I've been noticing in the last 8 months, getting really good success rate on getting approved. And some of you guys probably already do it, but like on the recons, like I've been charging, I started about 6-8 months ago, always charging a small 16-foot storage pod dropped off at the house to store all the, all the drywall and baseboard that comes in. So that's not just stored in the garage or you'll have to work around it. And
good. Yeah.
and
Nice,
I'll
smart.
I'll order a pod. And up until about 8 months ago, people would fight me on it left and right. Nowadays, though, like every adjuster I sit, and they're like, it's valid. I mean, I just don't like having all the cabinets in the middle of the living room, having to move them around and shift them around all the damn time. Put them in the storage box until we're ready to go.
Yep.
And I'm getting a lot of traction with people approving that lately.
It's classier. It's just a classier way to run your job site.
I will say I had an adjuster. We charged for a storage facility for some pack out stuff. We charged for the storage container, but they did not want to approve us for the padlock for the storage unit.
Oh,
He was
these
like,
people are so stupid.
$8.
he's like, you'll reuse that padlock. And I was like,
Oh,
but I don't have the padlock right
Sometimes-
now.
I feel like sometimes
No.
they're like, oh, well, we can't really find anything else. Let's nitpick this little thing. It's bullshit.
The padlock belongs to the homeowner because it's their stuff. It's about security. You don't contractors don't reuse padlocks, but you're right, Abby. It's somebody who, I have never been inside a claims, like a bullpen in a claim office, but I gotta imagine that it's really, really hard. And they have to find shit all the day.
My dad was an agent for State Farm, unfortunately, for like 30 some years. He got out right before things started to go south with them. But he was also in claims before he became an agent. And he's told me even now, he's like, it didn't used to be like this. It was not like this.
No,
The stuff that
it's
we
crazy.
see, that he now sees, because he sometimes helps us out, he is appalled by the way some of these insurance companies act and some of the reasonings that they try to come up with. I mean, he's like, this is just ridiculous.
And this is coming from an agent.
Yeah.
A lot of the bullshit that we get from these adjusters, it's literally no one's invested in them for training, and it's literally just, well, Bob 3 cubicles over told me that we don't pay for this here, so that's why we don't pay for it. And that's where, and nobody
How many of them could get so much money if they hired a lawyer and sued? It's insane.
Amen.
But they don't have the money to do that, or they're not interested in it. They don't want the headache.
In most states, it doesn't take money. It just takes will. Oregon, I've decided that right now my job is to package claims for litigation. That's my job. Doesn't matter what I'm doing. Working for a contractor, doing a PA. My job is to ultimately package that claim for litigation. And so I've got a local guy that it's an assembly line. Well, I take it to a certain point and boom, off to the races. It's the suit is built in sometimes because the carrier just taking a hard line on stupid shit. And people aren't putting up with it anymore. But you have to have the will to sue, right?
You have to have the homeowner's will to sue. I mean, it can't just be you. It's got to be the homeowner.
Right.
And that's where that's why I was saying, a couple of weeks ago, and I'm sorry, guys, I didn't get on last week. I had to coach a softball game during the same time this was going on. But if you don't educate the homeowner on day one of not trying to scare them, it's the scariest time they're already going through. They lost freaking damn near everything they imagined they could never have lost.
Yep.
It doesn't matter if it's a kitchen, doesn't matter if it's a first floor, second floor, bedroom, bathroom, doesn't matter. That's a living space that they're used to just being put together whole. Not having to have a bunch of random people in their house, tearing shit out, putting shit back, the whole damn thing. And there's a lot of contractors who don't understand day one triage has got to be treated differently. And I think that's where a lot of people fail is you can't just come in happy that you got this call. Yes, in the back of your mind, happy, blessed really is the word you should use. You're in a business to get work and to make money. But if you do it the right way, you're going to do good on them and you're going to do good on you. And the insurance carrier, if they're worth half a damn, is going to go, okay, you did this fairly.
Mhm.
I mean, I've made good with even State Farm people. I mean, it's just about how you go with it. You open the dialogue. I feel like on Rebels, I mean, Andy, I love Rebels, but now and again, I feel like too many people are so gung ho to like just rip an adjuster. It's like, have you given them a chance? Like, have
Yep.
you tried to
Yeah.
open dialogue?
It's
Yeah.
all about, it's
And if
all
there's
about-
none of that, then what are we doing? We're just trying to be combative and be bitches. Like, I don't get it.
No.
I mean, Andy will attest. He says I live in this little bubble fantasy world, but I mean, I know how I talk to my adjusters. I treat them equal, and all. I mean, I'm not afraid to ask them, like, why do you think that that's not valid? Like, explain to me your reasoning and let me educate you on why you're wrong. But I think a lot of people, they've just been burned or screwed over so many times, whether it's from the adjuster or just from shitty estimate writing overall, that they just couldn't. The second that phone rings, they're ready to go for a fight. And I'm usually like, hey, what's going on? Like, I'll bullshit with my adjusters for a few seconds before, if you can get an adjuster to laugh and then you can start talking about the job, it goes way better than it if you go,
Oh, it does.
What do you want?
It does. And then when you explain the whole process, like, well, hey, we have to do this. Well, that means that's got to come off. Well, that means we got to repaint this. So really, like, what we're kind of looking at in the whole scope is we've got to pull all this out. We're going to replace some drywall. We're going to retexture it to match what it did. And then it's a 2-color room. We're going to repaint it 2 colors, 2 coats, because virgin drywall at that. A lot of them will understand if you just open up simple English dialogue. And I think too often, too many of us have forgotten and I think it's just the whole world at this point, honestly. I mean, the younger generations were kindly screwed with if any of them become adjusters. Like, you kidding me? They'll demand their money and they won't give a shit.
You know, the way I
That's
look
just
at
from me
it,
having kids. Like, they just don't give a damn.
we only do the mitigation. So for me, it's hard. We also have a plumbing company. So for me, it's hard because this is a service that I have already provided to this customer. It is already done. It is already completed. It has already been documented. There are pictures that are proving that I did said work. I'm sorry, but when my plumber goes out to a job, he doesn't have to validate that he wore gloves, which is worked into our pricing. He doesn't have to validate that he used a cable machine. He doesn't have to validate that he used anything other than their drain is running now. He finished the service they wanted, and now they get paid. Why do we, as mitigation companies who have already provided a service, have to fight tooth and nail to get paid for the services that we send pictures to the insurance company and prove that we completed, and then also justified according to industry standard? It makes no sense to me at all.
Now,
None.
Abby, are you
sister.
saying you
Amen.
have a plumbing service within your company?
Yeah, we do plumbing and
That's
mitigation.
nice.
Okay, so you do plumbing. So more times than not, from what I've found in my experiences, the plumbing, like emergency call, like if they've got to cap something or if they've got to stop a drain from overflowing, that's kindly like on the homeowner and they get reimbursed, right?
So yeah, if it has to deal with like a water mitigation claim, they can do that 100%. What I'm talking about is like completely separating the two and just saying, okay, like if we were only a plumbing company, I don't have to take pictures and justify my work to the homeowner to be paid. So why am I having on the back end of things with these insurance companies having to, send pictures stating that I wiped something down or that I vacuumed or that I did this or that, that I've already performed the service. I've already done
It's
it.
2 different standards.
It's two different
standards.
standards. Like what Andy
We
said,
are-
plus Andy, sorry, but I got to say this. Abby, your best case scenario, if this was me, if I were you, separate the entities, because
We
the
have
plumbing
them.
is gonna
They are
make
separate.
out
Sounds like
every
they
time.
are.
They are.
Yeah,
Yeah.
plumbing's gonna make out every time, and it shouldn't be a question.
Yeah.
If they question it, it should never even come into question.
No, I wasn't trying to run them together and do it like as if it was a insurance company. I'm just saying like getting paid across the board for the service that you provided. You don't typically, if you provide a service to somebody, you don't have to document it tooth and nail and then fight for it to be paid for it, is basically what.
And to your point, there's bad contractors who decide, hey, the leak happened on the back side of the toilet. In theory, via water drying standards in the class that I went to, you should do a 2-foot flood cut on the whole back wall. Maybe you're removing a vanity at that. But should you really remove the tub that's on the opposite side of the wall and do a 2-foot
Right.
flood cut all the way around? That's why we
Yeah.
get questioned, because there's idiots
I
who
A lot
had
of
do
people
that
that
dumb shit.
ruined it
I
for
got a
us.
great one for you here. This is a lie.
That's not being an idiot. That's misuse. That's intentional misuse of the standard.
Well, I had a company.
And
I
it
had
should
to
be
go
it
out-
should be prosecuted, and those guys need to be fucking out.
A year ago, I had to go look at this job, and it was a mitigation was already done. They were having me go out to do reconstruction. They said, Joe, while you're there, this mitigation bill's all over the place. Do a comparative, what you think based on what you would, and y'all know me, like I don't hold back. Like I'll write it the way I would normally write it, regardless of price. Like I'm like, okay, I don't care. But this contractor, literally, they didn't extract the carpet. They just pulled the wet carpet out, bagged it up, and carried it out of the house. But they charged for extraction because extraction means we took the water out. Well, we took the water out of the carpet and pad, so therefore we charge for extraction. The homeowner owned their own LGR. They had bought it because they had read online that it's good to help drywall dry when they had redone their basement. And they're like, oh yeah, you guys can use our LGR so you don't have to carry an extra one down. And this contractor billed the insurance company for the homeowner's DHU, and their argument was, well, if we haven't used theirs, we'd have brought our own down and would charge for it anyways. So that's why we charged for it. And I was
Those
like,
guys need to be prosecuted for fraud.
They need to be disbanded.
Done.
Those are the guys that we cannot have in this industry anymore.
and
Yeah.
the problem is, I think more than anything, the problem is this here is that mitigation, everyone knows this, restoration has a very high turnover rate. And, a lot of people
Not as high as insurance adjusters, evidently.
but the problem is like, when you start up, back in the day, it was very commonplace. We do, hey, we're going to bill you for Xactimate, whatever the adjuster, we'll work with your insurance company to get the estimate approved, and they'll just cut a check and then you pay us and we're good to go, especially on mitigation. Well, the problem is that, up for the, people would start off and that's what they were under the pressure. We have to work with them. We have to work with the adjuster, get the estimate approved, and whatever they pay, you'll owe us. And now we're realizing the detriment of that comment as opposed to on the homeowner, you're going to owe my bill.
Well, that was for the longest time. That was the SOP. That was the way it was.
And
Just like the way it used to be when you'd get a sub, you tell them, hey, give me a bid and I'm going to pay you 20% of that bid. That used to be SOP, right?
I mean, the plus 30 minus 30 was a lot more.
Fraud is fucking fraud.
Yeah. But I think a lot of people, they grew up in the industry. Some of these people that are, I won't say long timers, but they're intermediate, in the industry. They're so used to that mentality of we have to work with the adjuster because
where is that coming from? This day and age, where the hell is that coming from?
It's being scared, Andy. It's being scared because there's owners who believe that if they can't have the adjuster agree with them, that then they're not going to get paid, and they're afraid.
There's owners that don't understand who their client is.
Well, there's
I
also
understand.
You got owners that are afraid that if you don't play ball with the insurance, you won't get any more work. I only got one person in my life that has ever sent me work directly as an adjuster. It's always the homeowner, or TPAs, and the adjusters themselves don't just say, I'm going to send you work. So I don't care if an adjuster gets mad at me or is argumentative, they want to fight me or not. But the other mentality it's just, I don't sell the job. Hey, Andy, you're going to owe my bill, whatever it is, you're going to owe me, and then you need to submit it to get reimbursed for it. Let the insurance, just turn it into the insurance and they'll reimburse you for services rendered. We tell them, we'll work with the insurance, and then whatever they pay, that's what you're going to owe. And nobody wants to go back to the homeowner and say, well, remember how we told you that the insurance would pay the bill because deductibles applied?
Yeah, but this is 2023.
Yep.
Who still in the right mind is running insurance proceed contract? Who's doing that?
There's a lot of them out there. A lot of them
out there.
Can we issue a PSA right now?
Well, the problem
I'll tell you what
screwing yourselves.
Andy,
You're
I'll tell
killing
you what the
yourself
problem
with
is.
insurance proceeds contracts. Go ahead, Zach.
It's not even the contractor that's the fault. It again goes back to the homeowner, because when I'm writing for some of these insurance companies, you would not believe how many of them say, oh, do I need to go get 3 or 4, quotes?
All of them.
No, ma'am. Can you find one guy that you think will do the good work? Him and I can talk, and we can get an agreed price. It's not a matter of going and getting 3 or 4, because all that does is invites other sharks into the pond. And you're going to get the one guy that goes, oh yeah, we're going to get this whole thing bought, all this thing. Really? When it was just this? No. And I'm being very fair. So that it's the men. Again, it goes back to the breakdown that I truly think in this industry that is screwing everything up. Nobody is educating the insured on their largest asset they own.
Well,
and how
the
to
good
treat it
people
properly.
There's a lot of good guys and girls
There are.
doing it right, educating their clients, and doing very well. Right? Those, I mean, there's only so many different ways you get your restoration business $20 million and beyond. Right? You're doing a lot of things correctly. So,
Well, and I do. I'm sorry. I thought you were
go ahead.
finished.
Go ahead. No, go
I
ahead.
think too, like when you talk about the onboarding process with your customer, that doesn't stop with the first time that you meet with them, right? So like a lot of people think that the onboarding process is okay. Well, I've already told them all of this about the insurance company, so they should know and expect this. But the reality of the situation is that it is so much information for a homeowner to comprehend, because one, they've never had to do this before, they've never had to deal with it before, they don't understand it. And so the
it's too much all in one chunk, for sure.
Yeah, the onboarding process is all throughout the whole thing. It is not when you first meet the customer and tell them they need to have mitigation or recon done. It is throughout the whole step of the way. Like you have to be there for that customer constantly. And it's draining, it's tiring, but even if that means repeating yourself, what you told them the first time 3 and 4 times more because they didn't get it and they didn't sink in first. Like that is onboarding your customer, is walking with them through the whole thing, not just, when they sign your paperwork or agreements.
And you will every time. Abby knows that. I mean, she sounds like she's damn near been through it. I mean, I've been through that. The problem that a lot of restoration contractors have is they don't have a true relationship person. And that's where I've always been successful in my life, is because, and Andy knows this, I'm a relationship guy. That's why I've had success in my life. Build a relationship to where you can educate somebody and get them to understand why you're doing what you're doing, when you're doing it, and get them on your side in that manner without even letting them know, like, I think a lot of contractors go direct, like, no, you need to be on my side versus insurance, like where the adjuster is going to say this, the adjuster is going to do that. Why are we going to talk negative about the adjuster before we even met them? 9 times out of 10, we're on site before the adjuster's ever even gotten that phone call or email or notice that, hey, you have a loss in this area that you need to go scope over the next 7 days. Like by that time, the dry out's finished, and then you just got to have your good scope. And that's why I preach to people, document the loss, unless it's just like, well, yeah, half their house is missing. Then it's a no-brainer. Like, but unless it's something that's that catastrophic, document it. And if you don't, you are doing yourself and your client, the insured, a gosh darn freaking disservice every time.
I think it comes down to philosophy. And when you don't believe, it comes down to who is your client. And if you are a business who is focused on the insurance company and the insurance adjusters and whatever leads you're going to get, that insured, that homeowner is just a number. And it's very hard. It's hard to have empathy for a number. And it's hard to build a connection with somebody that you're like, oh, you don't even matter because the person that matters is over here. That's where a lot of that breakdown comes from.
And this is why program work needs to die. Program work should never be a thing ever again. We are all in business to make money by providing a service. That service we provide, no matter where in the United States, it can vary. California, New York, it might be more expensive. Florida, it might be more expensive. Ohio, Indiana, hey, it might be a good deal. Doesn't matter. Treat them with a relationship of understanding who they are, helping them get over the hump of, hey, I understand this was a tough loss. You did not expect your whole kitchen to flood tonight because your little girl left the faucet running after she washed her hands. And then parents, you got to take it into whole effect. Like, what happened? You know, was it a burst pipe or was it somebody did something dumb?
And
Everybody
here's-
you deal with, you're reading people the whole time.
And you have to
And-
remember, guys, that like literally, like we take some of this shit for granted. I mean, it's just like in
We
the
do.
Facebook groups.
We do.
I mean, the amount of people I see, oh my God, we're talking about this again, or seriously, like, how do you not know how to do this? It's like there's tons of people every day coming in the industry that have no experience, have very little,
Well,
and they
let me-
don't, you know, when you're
Uh-oh.
on board the homeowner, it's just the
Awesome.
same way. Like they don't know, and you got to slow it down. And
well,
they-
here's a number. Here's a phrase or that I don't think we talk enough about, and a lot of people are not aware of. It's called compassion fatigue, and where you see that a lot is, and we saw that a lot during the pandemic, was nurses and doctors and healthcare people in general. They got to this point where it's not that they didn't care, it's that they couldn't care because they had compassion fatigue. They just didn't have it left in them. And I think we see that in our industry, in our business, where we are seeing people in the worst of their lives. We are seeing people in insurance claims are number 3 most stressful points in everyone's life, behind death of a family member and losing a job. Okay. That's high level stress, and we are numb to it. As an industry, we're numb to it. We don't even feel that anymore.
I 100% agree. I mean, I had a job once where the second floor toilet overflowed, and it was a new mother. She had an infant child, and to me, I was like, it's a small loss. And I tried to explain to them, hey, at least be aware, that this job is just your sewage. It's not like the neighbor's house flooded into your stuff. So in the grand scheme of things, we're going to take care of you, but it's not as bad as what it could be. And to me, and to you guys, probably, I feel like I was trying to be compassionate and trying to help ease the tension. And all I did was piss the homeowner off because she's like, this guy doesn't care about my house. He's trying to downplay it like it's not a big deal. This is a massive big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And we get the blinders on where
it's a
like,
big deal to them.
Yeah, like the smallest loss can be world ending to somebody, whereas for us it's like, oh my God, this is literally a $300, $1,000 loss. It's going to take 5 minutes to take care of, but it's the end of the world to them, and we don't realize it because we see it so much. I mean,
so I've got a claim right now. I'm working with State Farm of all people, and it's a fire. Fire started in a fireplace, flew, and then it went into one of their daughter's bedrooms. Pretty big fire. I think we're sitting at 400 and change, 425 probably total rebuild. Day one, the adjuster meets them out there. Family of 4, younger couple, 30, they're in mid 30s. And the adjuster says, well, you're lucky. You're lucky somebody didn't die. And the homeowner was like, the fuck you say? And they called me the next day. Right? Even the adjusters, I mean, this guy had no idea what came out of his mouth. How just, I mean, who says that? Right? You're lucky your daughter didn't die. Well, shit.
I mean, it's literally like
Abby, you would have lost your mind, wouldn't you? You'd have lost your mind.
Yeah.
Luckily my wife's been around me long enough. She's like, I mean, I'd understand it, but I mean, I always revert back to her for my clear point of view because she's outside of it a lot of things. But she does. She's even told me a couple times, Joe, like, I get where you're trying to be compassionate, but like, you sound like an asshole.
I agree.
But I mean, it is. I mean, it's just you guys have. I mean, everyone's got to remember. Everybody starts new, and we're always getting new people in the industry. Like, don't overload your homeowners right away. Baby.
How do we teach that though? Who is teaching that? Right? No one's teaching that.
It's a
WRT. You don't even know how to. Yeah, it's OJT. Well, then we're just.
I think just starting, like, when you get there, you get on site, obviously there's an issue that needs to be taken care of. That's starting with that. And then as you go through the process or the steps, with us just doing mitigation, if you get there on site, okay, we're there for extraction. We're here for this. We're here for that. But then as you go through the process with, writing the estimate, taking the pictures, giving everything to the homeowner and the carrier. And then, we do try to advocate some for the homeowner on, towards the insurance companies and stuff like that. And just walking them through that whole process all the way up until, hey, they call me, I got a check in the mail, or, or I call them, hey, I need you to come. The whole process is documented step by step. They have my phone number. They have, we have go-to people within our office that know exactly how to answer the questions that the customers, when they ask, and they feel comfortable knowing that they have somebody there that can answer those when they arise, because customers not going to know every single question they need to ask when you're right there on site with them.
Right. And the tech is
process.
not very often the best person to answer some of those questions.
Right.
Well, and it's also, I think there's a bad habit that I see. I know a lot of people do, and Andy, I'm sure you're going to be like, really? No. But the amount of homeowners that are in this industry that never see the estimate because because contractors don't want to send it to the homeowner to view it until they get it approved. So they send it to the adjuster.
No,
and shit.
that doesn't happen.
And I mean, seriously, there's a whole disconnect where you just write the homeowner out.
It's got to be north of 90%. I would bet 90% of insurance claims, of significant claims, the homeowner never sees an estimate.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like,
we got this. We'll take
I
care
got
of you.
one
We got it.
homeowner right now that I'm working with who literally is complaining. They're like, oh, well, you didn't do this, this, and this. I don't want you guys getting paid a penny more than what you're owed. And we're like, we don't even have that on our estimate. Where are you seeing this at? And she's like, well, this is what the adjuster gave me. And the adjuster's estimate was written differently than ours. And she's going off of the adjuster's number, thinking that's what we're like, no, we're not even asking for as much. Or
why there's a good reason to give the homeowner a copy of your estimate is because of all of this bullshit that's going on with the insurance companies, where they're taking our estimates and changing them and manipulating them and then
leaving our name on them.
Yes. Forget that. I'm taking responsibility for my bill, so you're going to get a copy of it.
Zach, I thought you got the hook there. No, it's not getting too late where you're at, huh?
Dude, no.
It's
my phone
summer
died.
and he's drinking beer. He's happy to be on there.
My phone died, and my wife didn't get back to me with my charger in time. It's all good.
But I mean, on mitigation, I get it. Let's we'll just invoice the homeowner, or some people just want to send it to the adjuster. That's fine. But on reconstruction, I'm a big proponent. Get the SB written. If you're comfortable with it, take it to your homeowner and say, let's go over this. Do you have any questions? No. Okay, well, I'll send it to the adjuster, and we're going to, I'm sure they're going to question it, but at least what's on here. So if they have questions, you can also be an advocate for your own property.
There should be no surprises. There should be no surprises coming back from the adjuster. In no scenario, done well or done correctly, should the homeowner be like, you tried to charge me for what? Mm-hmm. Right? There shouldn't be a shock there.
Well, and do you guys ever educate your homeowners on cost incurred?
All the time. I do.
Yeah, because cost incurred is the biggest thing that I lead with, is whatever, and the way I try to explain it to people, especially people who have a major loss, who have to get relocated, stay in a hotel or stay in an Airbnb or whatever, insurance. And it's funny how insurance adjusters are all like, oh, turn in your receipts for meals and turn in this and we'll immediately reimburse you. It's like, cost incurred works the same way on your house.
It does.
It's no different.
Well, and I think a lot of
really
people,
does.
They fall into the trap of, well, yeah, I invoiced the homeowner, but I haven't been paid for it yet. So the adjusters will try to say, well, that's not cost incurred yet because you haven't been paid in full. Yeah, you might have invoiced it, Abby, but have you collected the money yet? Then no, it's not cost incurred yet. That's where they.
Yes, it was. That cost was goddamn incurred. As soon as that invoice was written, that cost was incurred.
And granted, and to Joe's point, every homeowner is not set up that way. But if they're not set up that way, then that's where you just got to work with folks, and you got to educate folks on, hey, okay, this is what the cost is going to be. Can you take this out of pocket, or can you at least, finance some of it? Because I'm willing to chase after the back end. I mean, most mitigation contractors, say you do a 20 grand MIT, Abby. If you can get 10 grand of that up front from the homeowner, which they're immediately reimbursed from, I'm pretty sure you'd be able to collect that on the back end one way or the other via either the homeowner or the insurance company. You can spin it a few different ways.
The amount of people who do not get a deposit on mitigation is baffling. Like, oh,
Still,
The
it's
amount of
still
people
good.
who
It's still good.
don't take oh my God. See, I have been drinking too much.
Deductibles.
The deductible. If you don't take the deductible, like I've met contractors are like, no, we don't ask for them. I'm like, that's part of their policy. That's what kicks this whole thing off.
but a lot of
That's half
people,
the
that's
reason the
market-
adjusters
that's-
can screw with you.
But that's the marketing ploy is, hey, don't pay me nothing today because your deductible will apply to the reconstruction. So we'll do the work and then the insurance will pay us our mitigation claim.
And anybody marketing like that is not going to be in business 5 years from now.
No,
They're just not. So that's
no,
a problem.
front
That's the
end is
Darwin
MIT.
Award.
You can't,
That's a problem that
you-
takes care of itself.
you can't get to rebuild until MIT is finished. So the MIT, I've always told contractors, the MIT should collect the deductible. You're the emergency service person. You're the one out there at 3 a.m. in the morning,
100%.
sending people out, answering a phone. Reconstruction be damned. These people are going to want to look at cabinets or who knows, whatever the law says. They need material selection. We're not anywhere near that. We got to tear shit out.
So Zach, while you were running for your charger, we started talking about the concept of compassion fatigue, and in that we as an industry, we are incapable of feeling having empathy for our clients anymore because we've just seen so much for so long. We're numb to it.
I'm
What
not.
are your thoughts on that?
I'm
You're
not.
not.
And if you
You're the
are,
biggest
if you
hard
are, but if you are, you have a problem. Because if you
Well,
are,
man. I will be.
you should,
I got a
Andy,
problem.
you should have a problem because the bottom line is, what if your house caught on fire tonight, brother?
That would suck.
And would you have empathy for your wife and your kids who are inside home?
Absolutely, I would. Yeah.
So that's why we should always have empathy.
Mm-hmm.
The only people who will never have empathy are the people who are going to sit there and maybe be single 21 or 22-year-olds, or God forbid 30-year-olds who live in their parents' basement nowadays. But then you don't have empathy. But if you have a family, if you have somebody to provide for, you should always have empathy anytime you step into a loss. That should be a rebel rule, period, because empathy is what makes this whole wheel turn for the greater good.
But compassion fatigue is real.
It is.
It's a real thing.
I mean,
But
I
that
think
also
I
boils
always,
down to
I
how's
was-
the owner running you? Are they running you 80, 90-hour weeks, overtime, and not paying you, not treating you well?
well,
That's what I got to the other week when I was in the peanut gallery, and I'm not here now. But I mean, fuck, guys, we can't keep running kids who we want to be educated through the ringer. Educate them.
Yeah,
Give
burn
them
out.
some time off.
That's the biggest issue is I think so many restoration companies, the project manager works from a desk or they're, or they might show up at the middle or the end of the job for like 10, 15 minutes and all. And we're relying on these young water techs and field technicians who they're young. I was an asshole. I was a complete asshole when I was a kid. I was a smart ass, didn't know better.
At
I
least
would
you
just,
admit it, Joe.
I mean, and we want these guys to be, our face of our company, but we also want them to treat the homeowners right. And some of these guys, they could give a damn less if they're there or not. It's just a paycheck to them. They're not invested in the company. They're not they're not looking to the future and saying this is going to be a career choice. It's just a paycheck. And they don't help. They don't help anything. And a lot of times they can even hurt the situation. And
Joe, I too am a member of Asshole Anonymous.
I mean, I don't think I'll ever get done being an asshole, but I try my best.
I am a recovering asshole.
But it is, guys. Like,
Recovering. Okay, Andy.
I mean, like if you,
It's a
you guys
process.
should have one cent, your mitigation project manager. I always ran it. Hey guys, head to the shop. I'm going to the job site. I'll meet the homeowner, show my face. When you get to the job, I'll call me. I'll tell you how much equipment you actually are going to need. I'll sketch it out. By the time you get here, I'll have all my paperwork done so I can write the estimate. And the homeowner's in a good position, and they know they're getting an educated person every single time, on every job going out there that knows the situation and can. Granted, yeah, sometimes I'm not as compassionate. I'm like, dude, you're overacting. This is not that big of a deal. But I still always try to keep that mentality of it might be a big deal to you.
Hey, nobody died.
But
Let's keep
you
it
know, a lot
real.
of times, I mean, it's very common for them to just send out the new guy who's got 3 months of experience. You can't expect that guy with 3 months experience to be a good representative of the company or to ensure the onboarding of that client to get you the results of a company that you need. Like you've got,
Sometimes I go out in the field with my technicians and complete the whole entire job with them.
That
Look,
is the best
now,
way.
But see,
I
that's where Abby, you
put
separate
you
yourself.
through- I'm not going to put you through something I wouldn't put myself through.
Mhm.
Amen.
Yeah, Abby, that's 100% correct. That's everywhere I've worked in a managerial position. That was one of the first things I did. Is I want to go out in the field. Yeah, I'm gonna do what you do, and
First
I'm
of
gonna
all,
show you that I've done that.
or run a company if you don't know every aspect of that job. How do you do
Bingo.
that?
Bingo.
So I learned every single step of it, every single step. And I still go out and do some of it with them on occasion. when I can't-
And see, that's what keeps your morale high though, too, because I can tell
100%.
you, I've watched some of these younger water techs that I've come in as, you know, I hate to even use the term because it's been bashed so much, but it is a quote unquote consultant, but it's somebody who sees it through different lenses, not being the owner. And some of this is going to help the owners and understanding to bridge the gap of you're off doing whatever vacation or whatever thing you're doing, and you're putting these 19, 20, 21-year-olds through the ringer. And then when you come up less profitable, you're wondering why. Well, can we all get on a job site together? Like, I'll get up at 3 a.m. and go help dry out a house. Like, can we not all do this as a team? Because if you don't have that team camaraderie, it's screwed from the beginning. It just is.
I'm a firm believer if you don't have a boss and he's not willing when the shit hit the fan to get out there and get his boots dirty with you, you're working for the wrong boss. Because every one of my water techs knew that if they need it, I don't have to be out there every time. But if you need if there's a problem you didn't know how to do it, call Joe. He'll come out here. He'll show you how to do it, and then he'll expect you the next time to know how. But he'll take the time to show you how to do it, and he has no problem getting in there and doing it the right way. And you know, that's what people respect. And there's a lot of bosses out there that are getting older now and stuff. I mean, that they're done. I'm done being in the field, man. I ain't going back out, send somebody else out there. And they just don't get that. They don't get that good work ethic going because they're not.
And that's why we're getting the young adjusters who don't know shit. They don't know what a water standard is, or like, you know, I've shown up on the site with jobs and like, I've got my water meter and I look at the adjuster. You got a water meter? What's that? Oh, okay. So we're going to go here.
I'm of the opinion that no adjuster should carry a water meter.
No, I'm of the opinion every adjuster should, and every adjuster should be certified in the same aspects we are.
Why? It's not their job.
It is their job, Andy.
No, it's not their job.
It is. It is.
No,
You're going to tell them.
The minute they have, that's like them carrying around a hammer. Do you want the adjuster carrying around a hammer? No, it's outside their lane.
That's not them carrying around a hammer. That's them telling me that, oh, well, we don't pay for that, so you should drive this whole structure in 3 days versus 5. There's a bigger argument on the mid end.
Their opinion means shit because as an adjuster, you have no play. You have no leverage over how this job should be done, when it should be done, or how much it should cost.
But if they had the education to know that, hey,
education doesn't mean shit. They have no standing.
Well, if education doesn't mean shit, then what are we even standing on?
Experience in licensure.
Is that not education?
And job description? No,
that's all education.
So an adjuster's job is to find coverage and extend coverage.
That's an adjuster's job. But let's be honest, a lot of the guys we meet on site are not. They're not even adjusting to their policy. 9 times out of 10, these assholes don't even know the policy they're adjusting because
they've got
30 sheets in front of them. They can't remember who Mr. or Mrs. Smith are.
Right. So it's our job to tell them what it's going to cost, what it's going to take. Not allow them to bring their moisture meter along for the ride.
I hear you, but what I'm telling you is
I don't even open that door. I don't even let it open a crack.
I don't open it either. What I'm saying is if we wanted to help the greater good, insurance would treat this industry the same way we all do, and they don't.
I'll bridge the gap here.
I don't want them to.
I don't.
Go
I
ahead,
don't,
Joe.
I don't believe if an adjuster shows up on a job site with a moisture meter, then something's really fucking wrong because by the time you get there, it'll be dry. First off, but I will tell you this here: would be way more inclined and more amicable in my conversations with an adjuster on if you disagree with my scope of work. If you show up with a meter and you actually know your shit and you can actually talk, standard of care with me without having to. Well, I'll get back to you in like 48 hours here and stuff and have to look it all up. If they're educated and they know what they're looking at, it's easier to agree upon the scope of work.
It's easier to shoot the shit, is it not?
And one of the things I hate, and it's one of the things that I firmly believe, I do not believe ever that we should, if I had my way, I would never send anybody my final draft, my customer draft, anything that's beyond the scope until I'm ready to invoice it, because it doesn't matter. I don't care what the adjuster thinks price wise. Do you agree on my scope of work? Yes or no? You do? Okay. Well, when I invoice that scope of work, you'll see what my price is going to be. But do you agree on my scope of work? You can price it out and Xactimate default pricing and get an idea of what the price is going to be at. But at the end of the day, my price is my price. Do you agree on my scope of work? Yes or no? Yep. Okay. Then my price is irrelevant at that point because this is what my price for this scope of work is. The problem is that, you have to add in, I can't just say this water job is going to be $5,000. You want to know every fine little line item broken down into how much it is for this, and this. But guess what? Maybe, to take off the baseboard. Yeah, Xactimate said it was $5 linear foot, but maybe I only need $3 linear foot, but that extra $2, I need it to apply to the drywall removal instead, but I can't. The way Xactimate works is this is how I have to translate it out to. And the world would be so much better if we could just send scopes over and say, do you agree on scope? Okay, when the job's done, we'll provide you the final estimate value.
Joe, this is where I'm going to blow your mind. So this is where it kind of comes full circle, and it's fun for me to watch from a higher level. Is I have a client who has me write sheets in Xactimate, who they then have to send off to their investment groups. Mind you, none of these investors have any fucking clue what Xactimate is. But what they were used to getting and what they were bitching about is they would get a piece of paper that would say, oh, it's going to cost $20,000 to repair. The investor would sit there and go, okay, well, what the fuck am I getting for my $20,000? And I'm the one who's bridging the gap and going, let's use Xactimate and insurance rates because insurance is reimbursing us for said loss. Let's go use this and show them the line item by line item. You're buying new baseboards, you're getting new paint, you're doing this and you're doing this in unit 1, 2, 3, and 4. And all of a sudden the investors are going, hey, okay, yeah, I'll pay for this. No problem.
And here's what
it's an interesting game the whole way everything comes full circle, though.
Well, and here's
they know they're paying for it.
Here's what's craziest the most. People that complain about Xactimate pricing and say it's not enough money are the same people that I've seen in my experience that will tell you that you cannot use Xactimate for self-pay jobs because it's good. You're going to price yourself out of work. Like homeowners instinctively think that insurance gets a discount. So this is probably, they want to pay the bottom dollar amount. In reality, though, if I'm doing a self-pay job for a homeowner, and I price everything on Xactimate, I'm going to be easily 20 to 30% higher than what any homeowner out of pocket would ever be willing to pay for the same work.
Amen.
Because it's an insurance claim, not a remodel.
But that's the thing, though, is most homeowners instinctively think insurance companies are cheapskates. They think that they want the cheap, they're going everything as cheap as possible. But then when you give them an estimate, the same estimate, and say, well, you're going to pay me out of pocket, they think that you're trying to rip them off. No matter how you do, it's a bad view. But I mean,
that's also because you have contractors out there who are saying, well, insurance is going to try to rip you off. They're going to try to come in 50% lower, yada, yada, yada. Stop with the bullshit, people, before you even see what the adjusters agreed price is. Stop with the bullshit. Don't even put that card up.
I mean, I'll
agree to disagree.
I'm one of the high.
I agree to disagree with you, Andy, as well. I hear what you're saying, but at the same time, if you educate them from day one, they'll be expecting it. And like Joe said, if you could meet an adjuster on site who is actually willing to spend more than 10 minutes on the site, see some measurements, take some measure. Like I'm honestly, what impresses me most is when an adjuster shows up and starts taking measurements. Then I'm like, oh, this SOB is actually going to do his own sketch.
Do you live in
Okay.
the same fantasy land that Joe Spears lives in? Is there like an anomaly
I
in the
will tell you
Midwest?
right now,
We're in the Midwest, brother.
Is it like the
Midwest
Bermuda
is different.
Triangle, only it's flat and no water?
You've seen my estimates. You see how I write. I don't get. I don't have deal with a third.
No,
of the
You
problems
don't
that
deal
some-
with shit, man. You're like
I
in an
don't.
alternate
And I'm one of
universe.
the highest. I am the highest estimator in Indiana for residential work. I know that for a fact from numerous adjusters telling me so. I don't get the shit problems that everyone else gets. I firmly 100% believe if you are having problems doing insurance work and you're getting massive kickback, you need to pause and you need to send people out to get proper training, learn how to, they need to take the time, spend a week doing training, spend a couple days implementing F9 notes, and saving them as stamps so they can implement them in their estimates. And you will make money hand over fist 100 times easier because
Amen.
I still see contracts come through or estimates come through where the people don't even sketch. They just put in a folder and they'll dimension the folder off and it'll be 12 by 12. And the room was actually, 14 by 13 with a bay window. And like the amount, what sucks, Andy, is even though you say I'm in a bubble, Rebels is in a bubble of we are people responsible enough to take the time to join a group and try to better ourselves.
Exactly.
60 to 70% of the industry out there, they don't give a damn. As soon as they clock out, they're done. They don't think about it. They don't try to better themselves, and they just float along. And those are the people that are making it harder for us.
It's a hard number to throw out there. And I would hate to alienate anyone that might hear this message that not part of the members of the Rebels.
No, and I don't want to alienate anybody, but Andy, let's be honest. How many people are truly putting in window deductions, door deductions? The simple cash.
Everyone that knows what they're
I
doing.
see it all the time.
Well, why do you see it all the time?
I see it from contractors who I deal with, and I go, well, there's 3 windows in that room and there's a door. Did you account for those? And they go, oh no, I just simply sketched the room based on what I thought the room was. And I'm going, well, I actually measured the room and I took in for deductions. So this is what you're going to get paid. And they go, well, that seems okay. And I'm like, well, and I also put off to, tape over the windows and double paint the window trims and everything else, because that's what needs done. And then all of a sudden their ears perk up because they go, wait, you actually added more money? Oh yeah, no, I did, because I know.
Well, what you're talking about is a professional estimator versus a homegrown estimator, right? We're professional estimators. I don't run across that because we write all the sheets.
You've been beating the drum on homegrown estimators.
Well, have I though?
But it's true. The amount of estimates I get, and I'm sure Andy, you see them and all. Abby, I'm sure you've seen some too, where like you don't even. It's a bathroom and it's 7 by 5. There's no reference box. There's no deduction for the bathtub and the surround, which is a half. When you take in the bathtub and the vanity into account for flooring, over half the flooring space is not getting covered in flooring. They just
Why are you complaining about that? That only makes us look better. That actually helps us.
I would say it actually hurts us. If the more people that wrote like we do, overall the industry's better. When my friend Justine,
right? But no one can write like we do, so send all your work to us.
But but it's like she's like when my friend Justine, when she started her carrier company, she asked them, do we accept trade labor changes? Not just RFG, but like overall. And her boss told her, as a default rule, no, we do not. But if you see a large amount of people in a specific region or area that are doing that, then we can approve it for that area specifically. So they will accept changes, but it can't just be the one-off person. Like the more
what you're talking about is standardized process for estimating.
Yeah. We have standards.
Yes.
Why not? Who's gonna develop that?
Why can't we?
Honest question and great answer. Yeah,
Well,
why can't we?
The problem.
What's stopping us from developing that standard?
Because XCTs will train how to use the program, but if you ever take an XCT class or any,
I'm not talking about Xactimate.
But I'm
talking about Xactimate.
Like especially specifically with Xactimate, any class you go to will teach you how to run the program, how to sketch, and how to put line items in. But no class I've ever seen will talk about the proper or how to properly estimate the claim, because everybody is terrified of, you know, price gouging, being or called, say that you're price gouging or you're price fixing or antitrust bullshit. Like, nobody wants to say, if you extract carpet, you need to charge for extraction, pull the carpet, extract the pad, pull the pad, extract hard surface, show 5 pictures.
Okay, so those, what you just said, those 5 things you just rattled off have nothing to do with Xactimate.
Hold on, Andy. Hold on. I got a question for Abby,
Okay.
because Abby does mitigation. And this goes to Joe's point, because I have a golden question for her. So Abby, if your estimator puts in that you extracted Cat 3 water from the carpet, are you then tearing out Cat 3 carpet and pad and tackless strips?
Yes.
Or are you doing something different?
Cat 3 water or carpet and tack strips.
Now, see, Andy, to your point, that's setting a standard, because what a lot of adjusters do is they go, oh, well, you can suck water. Then it makes it less than Cat 1, Cat 2, Cat 3. Then you're just pulling carpet. You're
I've never heard
losing
that
more
before.
money.
I've never heard that before.
I've heard some people
But I
try
mean,
to, like, on your
have you-
Wait,
pressure
just
clean.
because I sucked the poop out of the carpet is no longer poopy? Well,
You've never heard that?
No, never.
I've heard that. I've
Ever.
heard that over a dozen times.
I do
Get
hear
out.
that with more so with steam cleaning than I do anything else.
It's,
Hmm.
I always use the kitchen sink. Just if I fill up a sink with dirty dishes and I fill it up with water and all, it's it's category 3. It's all nasty water. If I put soap on the dish and I start washing it and then I dunk it in that water to rinse it off real quick before, and then run it under the sink for fresh water, and I let that fresh water pour over the dish into the water, that water's still Cat 3 with cleaning chemicals in it. It's still Cat 3. So
Yeah,
if I
it's Cat
pressure
3.25.
if I pressure steam, then the water I'm extracting is the same category of water, just with detergents in there. I mean, that's how I've always
Yeah, it's
operated.
diluted. There's no standard for dilution.
Yeah, but what I'm
in
getting
our
to, Andy,
standard.
is how many of those questions do you see on the boards every single week?
I got to tell you, brother, I've never seen that goddamn question.
How many people do?
This
how,
is a first.
Okay,
There's like so
Abby,
many
I got
firsts on
one
this
for
phone
you.
call for me. I don't understand how.
I feel like we're
I don't
taking our-
live where you. Am I the one in the alternate universe? Evidently.
You must be, because I see
Abby,
those. I see those questions.
Abby, I'll give you a question here, and you tell me, because I feel like we're picking on.
Why
everybody.
are we putting Abby on the hot seat here?
But okay,
No,
so
because Abby's in mitigation.
how often
Okay.
do you see that?
And we aren't. We just pretend we are. Okay.
Even
No,
if you're
no.
if you're doing baseboards, if it's not category 3 and you use up to category 3, BASEB, you get a kickback that says, well, this was only category 1 or 2. You don't need to use that line item because it's not cat 3.
100%.
Adjusters don't even read the line item that says up to. The only difference is this says I'm holding the sticks
Thank
out
you,
my
Joe.
hand. This goes in a
Thank
bag.
you.
Every day
But
we
you're-
do this shit.
But you guys are talking about a specific estimating platform with specific. Get out of Xactimate and just go to the standard. Does a standard say category 1, category 2, category 3?
What is the standard, though, Andy?
I'll tell
What is
you.
the
I'll tell you
standard?
what the standard says. The restoration professional on the job, in charge of that job, gets to make that determination.
And is
That's
the
the
adjuster
standard.
reading that same standard?
But the problem is, Andy, is like
I don't
said,
care. I don't
baseball.
want the adjuster reading the standard any more than I want the adjuster carrying around a hammer or a motion meter.
But the problem is, like, I know we're harping on Xactimate here, but that the only difference between base and base B is you add a trash bag. You're breaking the sticks and putting it into a bag to carry out. That's the only difference. But the adjusters, when you see, they don't even see that on the estimate. They see it as that's just there's a word cat 3 on there. We're not paying for it because it's only category 1 or 2, and with the sit and you could QuickBooks it. You can time it. It doesn't matter. We use Xactimate as the default because it's the most organized and all-inclusive system that everyone uses. But when you have a fundamental breakdown with just a simple line item like, this is me carrying it out in my hand, this is me putting it in a bag and carrying it out, and you can't even agree on which one should be used on a category 2 loss, that's the fundamental breakdown that everyone has to experience and deal with. Another
Thank
one,
you, Joe.
Content manipulation per room. Zach, can I do content manipulation and do blocking and padding furniture? Or since I'm having to block and pad the furniture, I'm moving the furniture already, so therefore I can't charge both of them.
Exactly.
And even if I'm not using Xactimate, if I put on there manipulate contents and then right below it says block and pad furniture, an adjuster is going to say, well, you're already moving it to block and pad it, so why are you double charging me? Because
Amen.
one is
Well,
to move from here
wait.
to here. And
if
then
you're
it's-
blocking padding it, it's staying where it is.
No,
Why are you
No.
moving it?
No.
I
Why
have
would
to
it
get
stay
up off
where
the ground
it
still
is?
because the bottom needs to have airflow underneath it.
So what you're saying is you're moving it out of that room and blocking padding it in a different room.
Well, maybe to the other side of the room.
I mean, how
Or-
many times, Andy, have you had
What's
to
the
move
purpose of block and
furniture?
pad then?
To
If
keep it
block
up
and
off
pad
the
is
ground.
to keep it up off the ground so you can dry around it, right? But if you're going to move it, if
But
you're
I
going
have
to
to
move it
move it
across the
to-
room, move it out of the fucking room.
I have to.
And then you don't have to block and pad.
It's
I'm
wet.
with the adjusters on that one.
It's wet and contaminated. I have to move it over so I can pull my carpet and pad out and extract. Then I move it back so I can pull this side of the carpet pad out. And then I have to put it up on blocks so it's not sitting on the concrete, getting all scratched up or airflow can't get underneath it. So I have to move it and reset it. And then I have to put blocks underneath it. Therefore,
So you didn't do a very good job of extraction if you're putting it back on concrete and the legs of that sofa is going to get wet.
Now,
The legs
how is
are
that?
already
How
wet.
is that our fault if it was already getting wet?
I don't think block and pad and content manipulation should be used in the same fucking room.
but see now that's an adjuster argument there.
Exactly.
I mean, it's
Andy's put his PA hat on.
I mean,
There
it's
we
so
go.
clear. I mean, if I have a couch and the legs are the leg gap between the floor and the bottom of the couch is that thick, that big, even if I extract perfectly, I still need to get it up so as the airflow circulating around the room, it gets underneath there to dry out anything that got wet. Because 9 times out of 10,
And because guess
mitigation is
what?
there
The
for
adjuster
structure,
doesn't
not
want to pay
content.
for a fucking pack out. That's why we're doing all this bullshit. We don't deserve to get paid for it.
Most adjusters dry it on site, and then the contents adjuster will handle whether or not it needs to be packed out or not.
And then their kids can crawl all over fucking sofas that had shit sitting on it a week ago. After
Read
it's
me the
dried out.
line item description for block and pad.
Okay, Andy, how about this one here? My basement was flooding and all. Me and my kids and my wife were downstairs. We were trying to save as much as we can, and we had to take it. We took it upstairs to the upstairs bedroom. It was category 3. Are you going to clean the carpet and the staircase and everything? Because I walked from the basement upstairs around.
You probably should. Yes. Yes, you should.
Just
Probably gonna
will tell you. Go ahead, Abby.
And how easy is that argument going to be to win, bro?
Probably gonna take it out.
I mean, some people would say
Take out the
carpet.
cleaning or take out the carpet.
Carpet.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
But the question, that's one of the problems with the standard is the standard says significant contamination, grossly contaminated. It does not give you any idea of what is considered significant or grossly. So in my argument here, yes, it's category 3 water because it's saturated, so it's grossly contaminated. But if I just track a footprint out of that basement into my living room carpet because I carried a box from the basement in there, is that carpet in the living room now considered grossly contaminated, or overall is it maybe only significantly, and therefore I only need to clean it? Is it even does it meet the threshold now of even being significantly contaminated, and I don't have to do anything with it? Adjusters fight us on this tooth and nail, and a lot of people go, well, I mean,
Category 3 water is category 3 water. Point blank, end of story.
Period.
So
Yep.
so if I took an eyedropper and I suck up some category 3 water and I drop it on the bottom step and I squeeze it out, just a little eyedropper here, which is about what you would have residue left over on your bottom of your foot from just water, not raw sewage sludge, just water. That carpet, that staircase is now category 3 infected all the way up, right?
No, I
No.
can't make that
But
call.
category 3 water is just category 3 water, and
I'm not an IEP, and I didn't do biological testing.
And Andy, you just threw in an awesome wrench to why this industry is so fucking goddamn difficult.
It is
Because
hard.
that's the type of shit you encounter. Because that's where I'll tell a homeowner, hey, your couch was down there. Yeah, why don't we write that up in contents to be replaced?
Mm-hmm.
Because isn't that technically what should happen?
But then
Push comes to shove, the
should
insured
mitigation-
has
if
to
you're gonna-
prove their position.
They
If you're
do,
gonna
but
write
if
it
they
up
took
to
some
be replaced,
pictures,
if you're going to write it up to replace, then is the mitigation company valid on having content manipulation and having to charge twice then, because they could have just thrown it away because they should have known it was contaminated and going to be thrown away.
that's
so
where I try to cut the head off the
Oh.
horse in my industry and say, hey, this thing was shot because it's got wooden legs and it was sitting a foot underneath sewage. The
You
whole thing
Cut
shot.
heads off of horses.
I
You
do.
are brutal.
I am.
I mean, it's as bad as, okay, Andy, let me ask you this here. How many air changes per hour are expected on a water loss?
It depends on the class.
No, in the book, it doesn't say anything at all about it. And
Class? Yes, it does.
the S500 does
No?
not stipulate how many air changes per hour. Now, I do believe the 520
Wait.
mold does.
Well, if you're saying air changes per hour, are you talking about dehumidification using desiccants, or you're talking about air scrubbing?
Like air
But
scrubbing.
this is Andy, this is where
Hmm.
the books that, like Joe was saying,
It's ambiguous.
they get down to a certain degree and then they leave a shit ton of gray area that is then to be determined between the said contractor and said insurance adjuster. And this is where we have the biggest fucking issue in this industry.
I think if
Because
we're
a lot
trying
of
to
us feel
argue,
like- Yeah, but a lot of us are on the spot. If you're on the spot and you're doing what the homeowner's asking you to do, right? And then you got to go back and bill said homeowner because all of a sudden insurance says, hey guys, you didn't need to move that. We're going to replace it. We're not going to pay you for moving those 2 couches upstairs. Is that not
So-
some bullshit?
if an electrician says, I've got to size this panel at 200 amps, and an adjuster says, oh no, I did the math and I think you only need a 150 amp breaker in there or 150 amp panel.
Well, that's
Who's the fucking professional?
Code, though.
Well, that's a
That's
Who's
license.
the
code.
licensed professional? What
That's
we're
code,
talking
though.
about is licensure, code, which is a standard. We're talking about a standard here. Who's in charge of that standard? Not the
We are.
adjuster. So the
We are.
adjuster's not in charge of interpreting that standard. We
But
are.
you're then again arguing with the source that pays the claim out.
It's just
They
like
have to. They're legally obligated to pay that goddamn
Andy,
claim.
But
I'm in a-
do you want it to go to litigation? Because that could mean 18 months until you see a paycheck.
I don't want it to go to litigation, but if it has to go to litigation, that's where it has to go.
most people
So
never
so
make it
so
that
say
far.
you get 20 water calls and 9 of them go to litigation. You feel like you're going to run a successful model there?
I don't know. Ask David. David, what's his face? Mitt consulting guy out of Florida.
Well, I mean, here's a great one, Andy. If I'm working in the basement and I set up negative air to exhaust out the basement window, but I'm going to carry the shit upstairs, and it's let's just say it's category 2 loss. Category 2. We'll say it's a sump pump failure, category 2. I set an air scrubber upstairs in the unaffected area, so as I'm walking out, I'm scrubbing that air. Do you know how many adjusters will say that's unneeded? Like that's not in the source location area. You don't need that second air scrubber. I'm not paying
Okay.
for it.
Don't get me wrong. I am more than willing to negotiate any claim any day of the week. But what I'm not willing to negotiate is my standard and my standard of care. That's not up to interpretation by anyone other than me.
Well,
Lost him. He's gone.
Well, here's the response back you get from the adjusters. Well, and that's not typical in your area. Everybody else no one else would have done that in your area that I've experienced. So therefore, I'm not paying for it. If you want the money, go to the homeowner because I'm not paying any more. Than
Bullshit. That's bullshit.
I don't work for the carrier.
Yeah, we don't work for the carrier. Amen. All right, we are officially an hour past, but worth
This was
it.
good.
Let's just hashtag worth it. I love it. Let's do it. Let's do it again next week. What do you
Don't
say?
invite Zach on here again. You won't go so long.
Well, I conveniently timed it to beer 30 on Eastern Standard Time.
There you go. My man.
All right. Good to see you, Abby. Great to see you, Joe. Good to see you.
Bye, guys.
Good to see you guys.
We'll see you.
Bye, guys.